Yeah, so so this is kind of part testimony and also part sermon. So yeah, the first part will be it's kind of a reflection on my time at Global Top Gun this past August, and then the second part is kind of it's things that I've been or lessons that I've been thinking about the blessing. So. Yeah, so this past August, I went to Global Top Gun Youth in Korea, which is, if you don't know, it's this big international youth workshop um, for high school and young adult. But I went to the young adult one, and there was over 600 people, and then plus staff, it was about 700 people. So it was really big workshop from over 40 different countries. And so of course there was Korea and Japan, is where like the biggest two had the two biggest groups. And then there was about 60 people from North America, so Canada and the US. Um, Taiwan had brought 50 people. Albania and Thailand had 20 and 50 people, and that's where a lot of blessing and witnessing is going on right now. Those were all first-gen members from Albania and Thailand, and so it was interesting, like seeing all of these 20, 21, 22-year-old first-gen members. Um, and then there was also lots of people from South America, Peru, Brazil, and then also a lot of people from Africa. Um, but actually, there was a lot of people had visa issues. So there was maybe 150 people or so who couldn't come in the end, mostly from Thailand and the continent of Africa, who couldn't make it because of visa issues. But it was just there were so many different people from all over the world, and everyone had just a very different experience of God and true parents and the principle and different reasons for why they wanted to be there. But so we were the way they divided us was they had us split into four different tribes, and then within each tribe there were four clans, and then each clan had 3 to 4 families of about 8 to 10 people. So, and then within each family, they tried to make sure that there's a diverse group of people. So, in my family, we had 2 Japanese, 3 Koreans. There was myself, a sister from England, a sister from Zambia, a sister from Taiwan, and then one from Thailand. Um, and one of the biggest issues that everyone faced was language. Um, so most people could do like introductions, So like hi, my name is Sunder. I'm 25. I'm from the U.S. I graduated from university. My hobby is cooking. I'm receiving the blessing. You know, that's like a lot. Most people can do that. But even in our family, there were one Korean sister, the Thai sister, and then one Japanese sister. Like spoke little to no English, and so like we were really fortunate in our group that the 2 Korean brothers could translate for the Korean sister, and then our Japanese brother spoke enough English so that he could translate for the Japanese sister, and then our Taiwanese sister, her mother is actually, so she's Taiwanese, so she knows Thai from her mom a little bit, and then so she can sort of translate for our Thai sister, but this only really worked for kind of surface level topics. So like when whenever we would try to share about hundoke in the morning, or in the middle of the day or at the end of the day when we're sharing about our experience with the lectures, it became difficult to like really really understand people's hearts, and like what people are trying to say, because yeah, translation is just, it's so difficult, and it's such an issue. But there were some testimonies that really stood out to me from the workshop, that I wanted to share. So one was, just to give you, like, to show how really diverse it was. There were 2 members from Afghanistan, and there were 4 members from Iran, who were at the workshop. And one of the Iranian brother, so he's 17, and so he said that being, so like in Iran, the church is underground, because while the government isn't actively rooting out the church in Iran, if someone were to report to the police, they could all be rounded up and expelled from the country. And so in Iran, they're not really able to do a lot of community activities. And so this Iranian brother, who's 17, he was so grateful to be at Top Gun, and to meet all of these brothers and sisters, because next year he'll be 18, and in Iran there is a compulsory 2-year military service for all men once they turn 18. So he won't be able to go to Top Gun until he's 20 years old. And so for him, this was a really special experience. Which is like, it's a perspective a lot of people don't have, just being able to appreciate just being with other unificationists. There was a brother from the Dominican Republic. He was a first-gen member, and he shared that when he first received the principle, he was really inspired by what he heard. But for a really long time, like he couldn't bow before True Parents' picture, because for him, bowing was what slaves did. And as a slave, you're supposed to bow to your master. And so this idea of bowing to this picture on a wall was something he really fought against for a long time, until he could realize that this isn't something that I have to do because they're above me, but it's something that I want to do because of how much love they have given me and how much love I have for them now. And then the Thai sister in our family group, so she also had a similar experience. So she was one of 3 Muslim sisters at Top Gun, and it was interesting because so like the 3 of them, like, even though they're in the church, they still don't eat pork, because it's like part of their culture, right? It's just something that they've grown up with, and that's just what they do. But then the sister who's in our family, she would still always wear her headscarf every day, which was interesting for me to see that, but then also see how much she really loved True Parents. And so for her, in Islam, representations of people are extremely frowned upon. And so, which is why in mosques, there's all of the decorations. You won't see paintings of people or statues, but all of the decorations will be either calligraphy or they'll be geometric designs. Because to bow to a representation of like the prophet, it's like having an idol. And so for her and her Muslim sisters, it was really hard to like overcome that and to like bow before true parents, because her entire life she's grown up like this is wrong. But she shared after we heard lectures on True Parents Life course, she said that like I really, for the first time, I can really like believe true parents are true and they're real. And she said, I'm so inspired that, you know, my dream is I want to be a Muslim missionary, and I want to witness to my family, who are really like kind of disappointed or angry at her for joining the church. But she said that, you know, when she first came to the church center in Thailand, you know, she thought it was just a church. And then after she kept coming back, she realized actually the church was not a church, but it was a place where people can like be a family together. So I wanted to like those were three testimonies, and we heard a lot of testimonies, but those were three that just like really stood out to me, because the experience in these other countries is just so different from what we can experience in America. But actually, it was for me. It was hard to hear these kinds of testimonies, because you know, I felt like really disconnected from the church, from true parents, and you know, it was really hard for me to see all these people who are like getting inspired by like the lectures and just being in Chungpyeong in this environment. And for me, it's like, well, I've kind of heard some of this before, and yeah, okay, this is nice, but it wasn't as meaningful for me. And there are some people there. There are two brothers there who like really stood out to me. One was Hirokazu, who's his Japanese brother, and so like we would sing songs all the time, and whenever like the Korean songs would, whenever they would do a Korean song, like there'd be a Korean like praise team who would go up, and they'd have all these like choreographed dance moves, and then like one day this Hirokazu goes up, and he goes up with one of his Korean family members, and like he has no idea, right, what the dance is. He's never done it before, but he's just like really enthusiastic and he loves dancing. So he gets up on stage, he's like in the back row of the dancers, and he's just like paying attention, and he's just like following along. And he does this for like all of the Korean dances that he just doesn't know. And I'm watching him, I'm like, wow, he has so much energy. Like he's so enthusiastic about, you know, having this heart of praise. And since we were in the same clan, so a lot of times I would be next to him or near him when we would have like our closing prayer at night, and he would pray so intensely, and like I'd be like next to him and I'm like, oh man, I wonder what he's praying about, you know, because it's all in Japanese. But yeah, he's just like praying as intensely as he would dance in the day. And yeah, that also made me feel like, I can't do that. And so this one of the Korean brothers in my family, Jusop. So he's like he's one of the local leaders of carp in his community, and he's this very, like, in our family he was laid back, but I could tell he has this intense kind of public personality. And like when we were at Cheongpyeong, we offered this condition of 400 bows when we visited Cheongpyeong. So we would offer 40 bows, and then we would have like a 7-minute break where we would like pray, or you could do hundoke or meditate, just something in between. And I would be praying, and then like I could hear his voice, and he'd be yelling in Korean, and he'd be hitting the floor. He's so intense praying, and it was scary. It was scary, like hearing how much fervor he had when he was praying. And again, I was feeling like I don't have that. I don't have that. And so by the time I left the workshop to go to the blessing, because the blessing was in the middle of the workshop, and I had to leave to go. I was feeling kind of inadequate about my own like sense of spirituality. And then during the blessing ceremony itself, so we when the MC read the blessing vow, and then after he read the blessing vow, everyone says yes, right? And we did this practice before the actual ceremony started. We did this practice at like 7:30 in the morning, and people are, you kind of hear these like half-hearted like yes, as people are practicing, right? The heart's not there yet. It's just practice. And then when the time actually came, I felt this energy when I said yes, and just like thinking about the commitment that I was making, like I was so serious in that moment, and like I actually I shed a couple of tears. And then after, we exchanged the rings, and like we, as we slipped the rings on each other's fingers, like again, like I just felt like, wow, this is real, and I cried again, and yeah, so yeah, I experienced those were real experiences for me, and it was like in a very kind of narrow context, right? I wasn't thinking about God or true parents or the world. I was just thinking about my wife and this promise that I'm making to her, and just like, okay, that is real, and I can experience that. So like the day after the ceremony, all the workshop participants, we had to go back to the training center to finish the workshop. And on the last day, we had this opportunity to write a reflection. And the understanding was that like these were going to be translated as much as possible and then read to True Mother. And when I started writing, I was really honest. I wrote, in this letter to True Mother that for all I know, like she is going to be read this letter, and I wrote, I don't really know who you are, and I feel just like so disconnected to you as this figure. But what's really true for me right now is I am so grateful for the blessing that I have just received. And I am so grateful that because I'm in this movement, I was able to meet this amazing woman who I've received the blessing with. And so right now, I can say thank you for the blessing. Even if I can't say thank you for anything else, I can say thank you for the blessing and thank you for my wife. And I said, I swear to you and God that I will create a radiant blessing with my wife. And that was something that I'd been thinking about a lot before Global Top Gun and before the blessing. Like, what is a radiant blessing? And what is the purpose of the blessing? And so one definition that I've held on to is that we do not get blessed to be happy, but we get blessed. We receive the blessing to grow our capacity to love another person. And that happiness is a side effect. It's a byproduct. But that happiness is not actually the outcome of the blessing. And what I've been thinking about is that actually to be because growing up, what I always heard from my parents was you have to keep the blessing, right? You have to keep the blessing. Once you get married, you have to stay with that person. And I've realized that just like happiness is not the goal of the blessing, it is also not the goal to stay in a relationship with someone. But just like happiness, that's a side effect. That's a byproduct. But the goal of the blessing is to be absolutely honest with someone and absolutely share myself with my wife, and then to be someone who can receive whoever she is without conditions. And that if that is the goal, then we will be together, right? But if the outcome, if what I am trying to do is just to stay together, then actually, like, I could spend years of my life being unhappy and miserable, but I'm keeping the blessing. If that is my outcome, if that is my goal. So that's my goal. The purpose for my blessing is to share who I am, whoever that is, and to receive whoever she is. And I want to read the blessing vow. As a couple that is to realize the Heavenly Parent's ideal of creation, do you promise to become an eternal husband and wife who will inherit the tradition established by the true parents of heaven, earth, and humankind, and perfect an ideal family that will strive to realize Chanulguk? And like an eternal husband and wife, like that's the commitment to be together. But that's one part of the whole equation. And that, I can't create an ideal family with my wife if we're not together. But just because we're together doesn't mean we're creating an ideal family. And so I wanted to close by sharing how one way I'm trying to do that right now. And that's by living a life of high noon with my wife. I think right now in America, high noon has this context of highnoon.org, which is this pornography recovery site in our church. But actually, the High Noon staff was actually there at the blessing. They were helping the North American BFM staff, the Blessing and Family Ministry staff, and they gave blessing education, post-blessing education the next day. And one of the things that they said was, people often think of us as the porn people, but actually that's not who we are. Who we are is the radiant blessing people. That is our goal. The only reason that we talk about porn so much is because that's just the biggest issue in our movement right now. That's keeping people from having radiant blessings. But we are about radiant blessings. And really the principle of high noon, it's not just limited to porn and sexual integrity, but it's about living a life without shadows. And so in the context of my blessing to my wife, my marriage, it's about me sharing why I do things, how I think about things, and why I think about things in this way. Not just that this is what I do or this is what I'm thinking about, but really reflecting on myself and thinking about where does this come from inside of me? Because actually, fallen nature is often presented as something we inherit, and it's there inside of us. But I think that's more true for original sin. And I think the the most common fallen nature is actually that which we see, what we learn from our parents, what we learn from our friends and our culture. And the reason we learn it is because of the fall. This is what's normal. And we learn this because we think there's no other way to be. We think that I used to believe that there was a certain image of myself that I had to present before everyone. And that if I didn't present that image, then I wouldn't receive love from people. Right? This is an example of a fallen nature that I am currently working on. And if I had brought that into my blessing, right, this would have meant that there's this whole shadow self that I have that I can't share with my wife because I'm afraid she won't love me. And so had I done that, that would have recreated the fall in a small sense. Because the fall, if at any point Adam and Eve had revealed their shadow before God, restoration would have been a little bit easier. Even if at the very end, right, if Adam and Eve had come before God and said, all right, this is what we did. Restoration would have been that much easier, but instead, God had to find them. God had to find Adam and Eve hiding in their shadow. So for me, I'm really trying to reflect on why I do things, where it comes from, what good nature that comes out of, what original nature, and what fallen nature that comes out of. And I'm sharing that with my wife. And then I listen to her when she shares with me, when she's honest with me. And through that, we have so much trust. And right now, she is God. She is goddess to me because she offers me so much grace and love, even when I share the worst parts of myself. And she accepts that, and she gives me room to grow and to be better. And I want to finish by asking how you can practice living a life of high noon, living a life without shadows, whether that's within your blessing with your spouse, or if that's with your parents or your children or your friends, whoever that is. I invite you to practice telling the truth about yourself and creating an opportunity to be deeply loved. Because when I was only showing my best self to other people, then I could, whenever people loved and appreciated me and said they were proud of me, I knew that it was my best self that they were proud of, that they loved. And without being honest with them, I was never sure if they actually truly loved me. So I want to invite you to create that opportunity to be deeply and truly loved. Please join me in prayer. Dear Heavenly Parents, thank you for your grace. Thank you for teaching us about the ideal of true love. Thank you for true parents and the model that they give us to be ideal people, to return to God. Thank you for the gift of the blessing. Where a husband and wife can not only experience happiness, but experience an ever expanding heart of love for each other. By experiencing such an expanding heart, that we can then learn to extend our growing heart to other people and practice the love that we learn in our family with the world. Thank you for giving us this opportunity, even though we still have a long way to go. Thank you for showing us how to love other people, to love people absolutely and unconditionally. Thank you for True Father's ideal of the high noon, of living a life without shadows. Thank you for the lesson that we are only as loved as much as we show ourselves to other people. I pray that we can not only experience receiving that love, but that we can also learn to have the grace to love our brothers and sisters where they are. I report these things in the name of Sunder and Yumi, our blessed Central family. Anju.